You've probably seen it happen. A seemingly invincible athlete at the absolute peak of their career is pushing massive weight or maybe exploding into a sprint, and then suddenly, snap. A tendon just completely fails. It's wild, right? There is this massive dissonance between their external muscular strength and this hidden, internal cellular fragility. It's a medical mystery that leaves trainers and fans completely baffled. But here's the thing. These catastrophic failures, they absolutely do not happen overnight. They're actually the final result of a hidden, microscopic collapse.
Welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped to have you here today. We are going to do a deep dive into the hidden biochemical culprits behind these devastating musculoskeletal injuries. We're looking at exactly why the biological terrain inside an athlete's body can turn so fragile. And more importantly, we are going to break down how cutting-edge cellular protocols are being used to actually decalcify and reconstruct the tendon matrix literally from the ground up.
All right, here is our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The athlete's breaking point. 2. The vitamin D mechanism. 3. Directing calcium with K2. 4. Reconstructing the tendon matrix. And 5. The peptide repair blueprint. And we'll wrap it all up with 6. A step-by-step recovery protocol. Let's get right into it.
Number 1. The athlete's breaking point. We really need to investigate what actually happens inside an athlete's tissue in the weeks and months right before a catastrophic rupture occurs.
When you compare a perfectly healthy matrix to a deficient one, the contrast is honestly shocking. A healthy matrix is packed tight with strong type 2 fast-twitch muscle fibers. Those are the exact fibers responsible for explosive athletic power, supported by perfectly organized collagen. But under profound biochemical deficiency, it's a completely different story. It is a full-blown internal structural collapse. Adult biopsies of deficient tissue reveal severe type 2 fast-twitch muscle atrophy, and honestly, it gets worse. The tissue suffers from fatty infiltration and fibrosis. Your muscle is literally being replaced by fat and stiff scar tissue, which severely increases the tendency to fail, tear, and completely snap under tension.
Moving to part 2, the vitamin D mechanism. So what actually causes this structural collapse? Let's look at why a seemingly simple vitamin plays a massive foundational role in skeletal muscle function.
It all really comes down to the vitamin D receptor, or VDR. This receptor is literally built right into our muscles. When it's activated, it acts like a master control switch, altering gene expression to directly control how muscle cells contract, multiply, and mature. And research in animal models shows us something crazy. Without the VDR, immature muscle gene expression persists well into adult life. Your muscles essentially fail to grow up. They're left small, variable, and incredibly weak.
Now, when vitamin D signaling is functioning perfectly, the biochemical cascade is just incredible. Proper levels actually suppress myostatin, which is your body's natural brake on muscle growth. Taking that brake off induces the synthesis of entirely new contractile proteins, practically reversing muscle weakness. And this is absolutely crucial for injury prevention. It shuts down tissue-destroying inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and IL-6. Without this mechanism firing properly, your tendons and muscles are essentially just marinating in chronic inflammation.
All right, part 3, directing calcium with K2. Fixing this deficiency is not as simple as just grabbing standard, off-the-shelf supplements at the grocery store.
Let's compare standard vitamin D3 to a very specific, active form called calcifidiol. There's this fascinating 2025 real-world study by Chiarazi that showed calcifidiol actually bypasses the liver entirely. Because it skips that major processing bottleneck, it gives you a 3 to 6 times more potent rise in blood levels. This leads to superior visceral fat reduction and a significantly faster restoration of your overall biological terrain. But here is the catch. Taking heavy doses of vitamin D creates a brand new problem. It mobilizes a ton of calcium into your bloodstream. To safely handle this, the protocol requires a very specific daily dosage of vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form. And that magic number is 100 to 200 micrograms. Without that K2, all that newly absorbed calcium literally doesn't know where to go, so it ends up depositing directly into your tendons, causing brittle calcific tendonitis, which we know is a massive precursor to a tendon rupture. Vitamin K2 acts as the biological traffic director. It's the foreman. It forces that calcium straight into the bones where it belongs, keeping it completely away from your vulnerable soft tissues.
Part 4. Reconstructing the tendon matrix.
Okay, so we've fixed the biological terrain, and we've stopped that destructive calcification. Now we bring in the heavy machinery of the cellular construction crew, regenerative peptides.
Say hello to BPC-157. This is a remarkably powerful, naturally occurring peptide that was originally discovered, believe it or not, in human gastric juices. What makes it absolutely legendary in the world of musculoskeletal recovery is its ability to trigger profound angiogenesis. Tendons are notoriously slow to heal simply because they have a terrible blood supply. BPC-157 essentially acts like a drill, creating brand new blood vessels right into poorly circulated tendons, flooding the entire injury site with oxygen and vital nutrients.
Now, think about how BPC-157 works alongside another heavy hitter peptide, TB500. BPC-157 is generally applied locally to drive that targeted localized blood flow. TB500, on the other hand, works systemically. It's a thymosin beta-4 fragment that boosts actin polymerization. What does that mean in plain English? It drastically enhances cell motility. It literally acts as a high-speed cellular transport system, allowing your body's repair cells to migrate incredibly fast to the exact site of the injury.
Part 5. The Peptide Repair Blueprint. Let's bring all of this together into a practical application, combining these compounds into a highly synergistic stack for total tissue reconstruction.
When you put these together, you get what researchers call a synergistic glow blend. Working as a team, BPC-157 and TB500 dramatically upregulate VEGF, which is the key biological signal for growing new blood vessels. So while TB500 rushes the repair cells in, the combination actively dials down oxidative stress and those pro-inflammatory cytokines we talked about earlier. They work perfectly in tandem to dissolve stiff scar tissue while simultaneously building a fresh, highly flexible tendon matrix.
And finally, Part 6, the step-by-step recovery protocol. This is the climax of our explainer. We are diving straight into a highly actionable, step-by-step blueprint specifically designed for athletes facing knee surgery, tendon repair, or severe connective tissue trauma.
Here is the chronological scaffolding of the protocol, broken down into 3 distinct phases. Weeks 1 to 2 focus entirely on getting acute post-surgical inflammation under control. Weeks 3 and 4 shift gears into active tissue repair and remodeling the extracellular matrix. Then, weeks 5, 6, and beyond are all about long-term remodeling and making sure we prevent dependency or fibrosis.
Let's look at how this builds step by step. Step 1 is absolutely mandatory. Fix the terrain. You dose the calcifediol and vitamin K2 to ensure your bones are properly mineralizing and your soft tissue isn't turning into chalk. Step 2 is acute control, deploying high-frequency, localized BPC-157 alongside that systemic TB500. And step 3 is the taper and remodel phase. That's where you gradually reduce the peptides while actively ramping up weight-bearing physical therapy. During those absolutely critical first 14 days post-surgery, the protocol calls for a very precise dosage of BPC-157, 500 micrograms administered twice daily, localized near the injury site. This high frequency is specifically calibrated to maximize the migration of fibroblasts. Those are the cells that literally spin brand new collagen, right when the tissue needs it the absolute most.
Breaking down the actual schedule, notice how the dosages intentionally scale down as you heal. In weeks 1 and 2, you're hitting that heavy 500 microgram dose of BPC-157 twice daily, paired with 2.5 milligrams of TB500 twice a week. But as we transition into weeks 3 and 4, the BPC-157 steps down to a single daily dose. By week 5, you're just coasting on a maintenance dose of 250 micrograms 3 times a week. This taper is incredibly important. It prevents your cellular receptors from getting exhausted, and it allows the natural mechanical load from physical therapy to physically align those newly formed collagen fibers. Now, before you sprint off to try this, I want you to remember one vital thing. Peptide reactions are rarely about the peptide alone. They're about terrain. If you try to jump straight to these advanced, shiny new peptides without first fixing your foundational deficiencies, like vitamin D, vitamin K2, and iron, you aren't getting a miracle cure. Honestly, you'll probably only expose your immune weak points, which can trigger systemic reactions or severe localized swelling. You absolutely must optimize the environment first.
Which leaves us with this final, critical question. Are you just treating the symptoms of your injuries with ice, rest, and painkillers, or are you actually reconstructing your biological matrix from the inside out? Once you understand the interplay of vitamin D, directing calcium via K2, and using targeted peptide therapy, it completely changes the entire paradigm of athletic recovery. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.